Hello and welcome back to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show, brought to you by Hire IT People. As you all know, there has been a recent proposed rulemaking by the USCIS a couple of days ago, I guess on the 20th of October, which will go into effect on or after 22nd of December, further modernizing the H1B visa program. It's a 100-page document, and now it's open for comments from stakeholders. You can also comment. But then I would like to focus more on the. Many of you might have read it in the news about the proposed rulemaking, and I would like to focus on the H1B registration process. And although they proposed a lot of changes to the specialty occupation, the educational requirements, third party placements, like if you're working for a staffing or a consulting employer, and if you are working on a client project, changes to those as well. And with some touch into the H1B Cap-Exempt who work for non-profit organizations and F1s, and some relevance into other categories like L1, TN, and E3 visas as well. Now, as I said, this is like a 100-page document which is going into the proposed rulemaking. But then there are certain important aspects of what is going to change with the major and significant changes for the H1B program and the H1B registration process. I guess USCIS is more lean towards protecting the integrity of the system. So based on the number of oversubscription of H1B visas, last year we've had almost 780,000 for the fiscal year 2024, and they were about 50% were unique and 50% were duplicate applications by many beneficiaries. So we'll just quickly run into some numbers. Uh, and if you're watching on any of these social platforms, please, send a comment. I can take your, this is a general discussion. I'm not an attorney, but then based on my expertise as an employer myself, by the way, I'm Dan Nandan, president of Hire IT People Inc. Been in staffing and working with H1B workers for several years, and I've been writing blogs, doing conference calls last 15 years. So I thought it's time to debunk the confusion behind the new publication, which would probably go into effect as of December 22nd, 2023. Um, there is, with the H1B registration process, I do feel this is a good news, not bad news at all. So if you looked at the 780,000 applications received for the fiscal year 2024. Fiscal year is not the calendar year. So the fiscal year, countries like India, I think it starts in April. And for the H1B purposes, the fiscal year is from October 1st. Now, we've already done with the 2024 fiscal year, now heading into the fiscal year 2025. The application process will begin in the month of March and April. And if you're an H1B aspirant out there, uh, uh, please listen to what I'm going to tell you at the end of this video very carefully, because there has been a change with, there will be enforcement with in-house projects. So people must have a bona fide job offer. I'll get there a little bit later on, but then there are a lot of things, good tips based on my experience, and how you can make this happen, and how you can have a job even before you actually get your H1B visa. Have a job in the US. We've been doing this and we've been successful. So we'll get there. Now, what is going to change with the H1B registration process? They're going to be focusing on beneficiary centric selection. If you look at my screen, beneficiary centric selection. Now, what is beneficiary centric selection and how they plan to select a unique beneficiary? Until yesterday, if there were 780,000 applications as of the 2024 numbers, if you look at the total applications received, about 760,000 in 2024, fiscal year 2024, out of which there were 350,000 unique applications, and there were about 111, approximately 111,000 applications picked, but the annual cap is only set at 85,000 visas. Now, the 85,000, out of 85,000, 20,000 are reserved for students, not just students, people who have advanced degrees from a university in the US, like a master's degree from a university in the US. But remember that master's degree must be from a public or a non-profit organization, a public and a non-profit university. If you're going to a private university which don't qualify for a public or non-profit status, you cannot use it for the exemption under the 20,000 masters, typically what they call the masters quota. And the remainder 65,000 is for worldwide. But however, only 59,000 are the actual H1B visas. The 6,000 visas are set apart, which is called an H1B one for nationals, citizens of Singapore and Chile. They're often, never used, but then it looks like, and numbers, from previous years, USCIS has the authority to move some numbers. So what they did, they have selected about 111,000 visas last year. Now, going back to um the beneficiary centric selection, how this is going to work. Now, people have been applying for multiple jobs, they have multiple applications. And if I just go back into the 2023 numbers released by the USCIS under the same publication, if you look at the 2023 data, there have been a total of 480,000, a whopping 483,000 registrations or applications. And the most important thing to note here, if you look at the bottom, let me just open this up. So, one beneficiary, one applicant had 83 H1B applications. 83. So, largest number of registrations submitted by one beneficiary for one applicant. So, I think this is the motive, and the government doesn't want people to game the system. So they are trying to make it more um, useful so people can get benefit, assuming based on what happened last year, current year. If we, and this is a good news because there might be uh, over 25%, even if there are 600 or 700,000 applications. So and then there might be rejected applications based on, there might be denials, there might be um, issues with the fee, signature requirements. So let's say if there are properly submitted applications of about 4 or 500,000, so and we are looking at 85,000 visas, still everybody stands a very good chance. The probability is almost 15 to 25%. So now let me just switch back here. Now, what they plan to do, you are free to apply to multiple jobs. There is no restriction. They're not going to place a restriction on how many jobs you can apply, but these jobs should not be from. So, for example, if I'm the employer, I cannot file multiple petitions for you. Neither my company nor my affiliate subsidiaries or sister concerns are allowed to make an application for multiple do multiple application for the same employee or the beneficiary. Now you are free to have 10 jobs, and but you will be counted as one. I'm going to come down to how they're going to track this a little bit later on. So one beneficiary can have multiple jobs, and once your H1B is picked in the lottery, now you will be picked, not different H1Bs that were filed. So it is going to be centric to you. So you will be picked, and this is going to be a beneficiary centric, and irrespective of how many employers have offered you a job. So once you are picked in the lottery, so now this is between people, not between H1Bs from different companies. So let's assume there are 200,000 aspirants, and they have each has 10 jobs. So we're talking about 2 million jobs. Now, are they going to do a lottery or the random selection on the 2 million? No. They are going to uniquely identify these beneficiaries and do the lottery. So your chances are pretty high. All the employers who have filed the registration, H1B registration, will get a notification stating, hey, these applications for XYZ beneficiary is being picked in the lottery, if there is going to be a lottery. If there's no lottery, everybody has a chance. But then, based on these numbers, we definitely assume that there is going to be a lottery. And then all the employers who petition, not petition, but who file the registration, will get a notice. Your beneficiary has been picked. You can file an H1B. Now, at that point, you'll have the opportunity to select which job or which employer you would like to proceed with. Now, I see somebody's chatting here. You can send those comments. Interesting. Um, okay, good afternoon, everyone. But if you have any questions, I see hellos and comments. Thanks for those comments. Wherever you're watching, you can definitely engage into our discussion. I'm going to flash your comment as a question on the live show that we're doing right now. But then, I would definitely love to. This is just something new, so I'm trying to. If there is something you agree or you disagree, please comment. Let's engage in a conversation to help everyone else. And now let's get back into the topic. Okay. Now, when I said there is going to be, how are they going to track the applications? Although this was a requirement, now they want to jump deep into this, delve deep into this to ensure they're able to track the beneficiaries. So, at the time of registrations, now employers will be required. The passport number was probably, they could have skipped the passport number, but now employers will be required to insert the full name, fill in the full name of the beneficiary, the prospective employee, in other words, date of birth, country of birth, country of citizenship, and the passport number. I probably missed the passport number here, but that's going to be the unique key. So you have the passport image right there. So full name, date of birth, country of citizenship, gender, and the passport number. So they've also tried to discuss aspects on people who don't have a passport. If you don't have a passport, you cannot apply. So if you do not have a passport as of yet, and you plan to get an H1B visa next year, please go get a passport. Now, there is much more to this discussion about people who are stateless, who don't even have any passport to belonging to. They're not a national of any country. There has been a discussion, but I'm not going to touch that topic. It's we'll have this discussion uh, for a longer period. So I will come back if based on the comments. If someone's really looking for some help, you can always email me, Dan at higheritpeople.com. And if I'm unable to answer, if it's more legal specific, then I'll probably um, forward your email or get some help from uh, someone who's knowledgeable, like an attorney, or someone who's licensed to practice law. That's something we can certainly do. So they're going to track based on these details, and once, and I'm assuming it's not written in the publication, but I'm assuming they already have some tracking numbers for each beneficiary. They're going to develop a robust system to ensure beneficiaries tracked. So once again, let me go back. If someone has joined a little bit late, now the H1B registration process is going to be beneficiary centric selection. So, which means there is no longer, so one person will not have three or four H1Bs picked. For example, if someone had five jobs, and it is, this whole story started in 2008. Before, earlier, prior to 2008, we have not seen any kind of, oversubscription as in stocks happens in most countries with the H1B visas. But this issue has begun. Looks like more graduates, more IT workers, the population is going up. So there have been multiple reasons. This whole, issue started in 2008, and USCIS has been dealing with this problem. Earlier, we would just, before the registration, we would send the complete petition, which is burdensome for the employer's petitioners, also burdensome for the USCIS to process this paperwork and spend millions of dollars shipping them back to the employer. Usually, the H1B packages are 200, 300, 400 pages, 4 5 up to 10 pounds, about 3 or 4 or 5 kgs kilograms. So this has been the problem. So they came up with a simple process to for companies to file H1Bs, which is the registration system, which is only a $10 fee. And but then, there has been several issues where, as we just saw on the screen, there, one beneficiary had 83 applications, and then it's a chaotic situation even for the immigration. There are humans working there as well, although they use artificial intelligence. Based on what I've read, they have grouped a lot of companies who have dealt with other employers to game the system to increase the chances of the H1B selection process. So they just want to make sure there's more integrity, and there is a chance for everyone, and to get an H1B visa. Now, okay, I have a good question here before we jump into continue with the discussion on what happens with there is a change on degree background educational requirements. So this is going to be very, very important, especially for students or people who are not experienced. It's not clear on how this can be, how experience can be used. I'll get there, but then we'll just look at this question here. Can someone who is working in UK can apply for H1B? In what category they fall under? Anyone, anywhere in the world can apply for an H1B. There is no separate category for United Kingdom, so it's a regular category. If you are an Australian national or a Canadian national, Australian nationals have an E3 visa. Canadians have TN visa, which is simpler process with more employment conditions as the H1B visa. But if you're from the United Kingdom, it's a normal process. Although if you're a British citizen, it doesn't matter. So there's nothing specific for the UK citizens. And if you're a UK citizen, you might have other options in terms of green card process only when you're born in UK. If you're born in another country, you hold UK nationality, that does not give you any better benefits of quickly getting into a green card process. But you can just definitely send me an email with a copy of your resume, Dan at hireitpeople.com. It's right there on the screen. We can definitely get there. I do see more comments, but I will try to get into the comments. We'll just jump into the uh, next topic on what else is changing here and how important it is to understand the nuances of the major changes. Now, this is very, very important for not just for the fresh H1B aspirants. This will also apply to existing H1B holders who are rather going for an H1B extension, H1B amendments, or maybe even at the consulates. It's not very clear on few items, but then one thing is very clear: the USCIS has proposed to limit relevant degrees. For example, earlier people have had any engineering degree, they can go for IT positions. My discussion, I'm an expert with the IT job market, so I will focus more on computer related occupations. So um, any degree, for example, somebody had a master's degree in mechanical engineering, since they have an engineering degree, they could still qualify for excuse me, let me just get this chat off. They could still qualify for the H1B visa if they have, for example, a software developer job. Now, this is where it is going to get tricky. They're going to expand the list of occupations, computer related occupations, and they expect to have a direct degree, a major, your coursework. And especially for students who have come here right after finishing their bachelor's, who are now students doing a master's program in a non-relevant IT degree like chemical engineering or aeronautical engineering. Please be aware, this change is going to have impact on you. It is very likely, it'll become very hard to establish that you would qualify for an IT position. So unless you have a lot of courses which employers or the attorneys are able to map and explain to the immigration, to the USCIS, there is a relevance. It's not just the major, but then he or she has these courses which can relate to the job offer, the job duties. It's not a job title, it's always they only consider the job duties. Now, on the other hand, it is not clear from this publication. Earlier, if somebody, for example, had um, an MBA and they've had over 3 years of experience, for example, an Indian degree, an MBA or a bachelor's degree or a BCom or a 4 year mechanical engineering, every 3 years would give, based on equivalency rules, we would go to an evaluator in the US and they would consider every 3 years as 1 year in college, and that would add up, give you an equivalence. For example, if somebody had an MBA, assuming 3 plus 2 years, 5 years, and they've had 6 years or 9 years of experience, they would probably get an equivalent of management information systems. Now, this could be a problem, which is I've read the entire, I tried to dig through the entire 94-page PDF document. Uh, I was not clear. Maybe they will come up with more clarity in the once this rule is published, December 22nd. You can also go comment on the proposed rule making. It's open for public comments, but they're going to get tens of thousands of comments. I doubt if someone's going to read this, and this will definitely go into effect until or unless someone has some organization has is going to challenge this in the court, but I don't see anything here that should be challenged, because they're trying to modernize the existing rules, make it easier for people to get picked, get an opportunity to work in, excuse me, to work in the US. Now, a general degree may will not be insufficient. So as I've been explaining, if someone has a general degree in engineering, any engineering, right, and even with some courses, and you're going for a Java developer job, so if you did not have a relevant degree, so this is going to be a major change. So if you have a different background, this is where you need to talk to your employers. I'm talking about existing H1B holders as well, and H1B new, aspirants and students who are planning to uh, file an H1B visa. So be diligent, be proactive, and make sure you do some homework. I can only give you a few tips, but then you got to do a lot of, because everyone's background is different. But before we continue with the topic, I would like to, I have a lot of people chatting here. We'll just take one question. Hi, Vineet. How you doing? I'm employed by a consulting firm, but I'm assigned to a project at a public university. I'm interested in applying for a non-profit H1B visa due to university's non-profit status, despite not being their direct employee. Can you clarify? Yes. If you are there, you have two options. One, I'm not sure if you are holding a non-profit um, H1B, but then your employer, your nonprofit university, public, can apply H1B cap exempt. You're not subject to the annual cap. You can always apply. Again, I'm not an attorney, but based on my experience as an employer, you can also work through this consulting firm. They can also still file as a cap exempt, because the end project and customer client where the project is for a nonprofit, so you do qualify. And Also, if someone is, last time I was, last week I was talking to an attorney, and if you have a nonprofit H1B, you can do a second job, concurrent job for a profit employer, although you are not counted again as the H1B cap. So this is something you need to understand, but I'm not really clear about the question. I think, let me look at here. Um, I'll just read this out from here. Okay. Um, Universities, despite not being their direct employer, can you clarify for a non-profit H1B visa and the outline of the process and requirements? Yes, you are. You are definitely eligible to A, get a non-profit H1B directly with your client. B, your consulting company can also file a non-profit cap exempt H1B. And with the new H1B modernization, even this aspect has been clarified. So they're also focusing about the definition of how and why, how it can benefit people. And also, H1B, there's something new. uh, H1B, if you are a part of a company, for example, your spouse or someone has a company, and you're also a controlling member of the business, you can petition an H1B for yourself from that company. So this is another change that has, that is going to come into effect. There's not much of clarity on, because there are IRS regulations, there are other regulations when you go for a visa stamping. So this is only with the USCIS. So we need to understand these are the multiple departments. When it comes to an H1B visa, if somebody's coming from India, countries like India, you have you have to get, it has to go through US Department of Labor first, US, which is called USDOL, then an approval from USCIS, which is United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. Then you go to the consulates, which falls under the US Department of State. And once you get a visa approval, then you're coming through another department called Customs and Border Protection. And during these processes, anyone does anything, any mistake, now there is a department agency called ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They're going to put you in a lot of trouble. So let's not do any fraud. Let's be safe. Um, Let me just quickly jump back into where we left off. Okay. Now, what happens if there's still a lottery? Of course, I've been talking about it, but I wanted people to understand. Hey, now there is a H1B. There's a beneficiary centric process, so it is a good news. You don't have to go crazy about even if you had 10 jobs, you stand as a unique beneficiary. Now this is not focused on multiple jobs. This is focused on people, not positions. So if 200,000 have applied, assuming there are 85,000 visas, but for this 200,000 unique people, H1B aspirants, million companies have offered them jobs and filed a registration. Only these 200,000, 2 lakh people will go into the lottery if it is overflown to the 85,000. And then the 85,000, then there's 200,000, you have almost 50% chance. And you'll still be in the lottery. This, which is, in other words, the it's called random selection process. Lottery is, something, excuse me, is for, usage purposes, but it's actually the random selection process. Now, if you are an H1B aspirant, now how do we have a smoother H1B process? This is where I would like to bring in, as an employer and been in the industry for almost 20 years now, and helping the community since 2008 with conference calls and shows with major mainstream media channels as well. I would like to bring in some expertise as the president of Higher IT People. By the way, we are a staffing firm as well. If you need a project placement, uh, or H1B transfer, any other help, you can always reach out to me. Dan at higheritpeople.com. Once I end this video, I'll also give you my WhatsApp number. It's actually 1+1 if you're overseas for WhatsApp. 347 New York City area code 347 545 7070. Now, how do we be proactive, and what is that you should do in terms of uh, to get that H1B visa if you are picked in the lottery? It's not just about you know getting your name selected. It's about you have to have a bona fide job offer. They're going to be more enforcement. So for example, you go through an employer like a consulting company who have were filing with an in-house project, and not a viable in-house project. These projects have to be viable, and you apply. Now you're going to have, there might be a denial with the USCIS, or even if there's an approval, there could be a denial at the consulate. So multiple steps of trouble. And even if there's an approval at the consulate, you might get your entry might be denied at the port of entry. Now, even if you enter the country, there might be site visits, there might be audits, inspections. So there is a trouble. So you have to be careful from day one. Hey, this is not the end of the world. There are a lot of companies, because there is, they USCIS has clearly stated there has been many individuals or companies have been gaming the system. So this is a language that's in the publication itself, proposed publication. So you got to be careful and do it right. um, Now you get a direct job offer from any good company, large companies, Fortune 500s. You're good to go, nothing to think about. That's a bona fide job offer. Now you're going through a staffing firm. You want to ensure they have a client project. And one tip I would like to explain here. If you are going to be an aspirant, this is an important message. I know this might sound a little complex, but definitely this is doable. You are, for example, countries like India, you should start applying for jobs from today. If you have a consulting employer who can back you, um, for example, you are offered a job from a US based company, and you can start working with them from day one, even if they don't sponsor. You can always have a consulting company like us, and who will become your employer on record and still sponsor the H1. Now you have a project. This project that you're continuing can be used to file the H1B visa. Now, does it have to be in the US? No. This project can be in UK. This project can be in Australia. But as long as uh, the hourly or the wage levels are met. So if somebody wants to pay $10 an hour, that's the minimum wage start at $45 an hour, which is about $90,000, a minimum at the year, considering 2080 hours, 2080 standard hours, plus the benefits, blah blah blah. So there's a cost for employers. So as long as it's a high paying job, there is a contract. If the US employer wants to bring to the US and work from their offices, but they have a contract that you're doing a remote job for UK or Australia or United Arab Emirates, it is still possible. But there must be a bona fide job offer. There has to be a contract. Many of you have um, heard about the client letter requirements in the past, which was turned down. They rescinded the memo, but then now they're going to be pushing on master services agreements, and then job duties drafted by the third party employers, the end clients, where you'll be, to whom you'll be providing services. So there are a lot of changes, that's going to come up. So this is something, if you need help, and it's a teamwork, we can definitely help in terms of finding you an opportunity while you're in India. And uh, then you start working for our company. Then when the time comes, we initiate the H1B process. If that doesn't work, there's still other opportunities after you have done for a year. If there's a lottery again, you're not selected in the random selection process, we can always consider other options like a intra-company transfer, L1 visa. um, there are two categories, L1A and L1B. So I'm not going to push more on this topic today, uh, but then I still have a lot of comments here. um, um, Hi, Srinivas. If you're looking for an H1B transfer, you can email me at dan@hireitpeople.com. I will have someone get in touch with you. Now, we have more questions here before could you repeat the mobile number? I'm going to flash it end of the session, but then it's 347-545-7070. Once again, um, 347-545-7070. I'm going to put it on the chat here. I'm just, I'm doing multitasking here. Um, okay. Um, Aditya, certain companies directly reject the application on their portal. For example, if I select yes to require H1B, the application directly goes not selected. Okay, so this is what I've been talking about. This is where you have to have any, if you're already working with a staffing company, you say no to this question. And then if they want to hire you based on your great skill, you have to take them to a stage that they can interview and understand your skills. And as long as you have the talent, background, experience, and skill, they will find ways to hire, right? At that point, you can always say, you don't have to sponsor, I have a sponsoring employer. So it is likely many of these companies don't like to sponsor, but then they reach out to us to become the employer on record. So that's a possibility. So keep applying. If there is a requirement, just say no, and then you once they get in touch with you, and be truthful. Tell them that there is an employer, you have a sponsor. If you have an opportunity, there is going to be a sponsor. Now, okay, it's a good question. As a Canadian, Muhammad, as a Canadian citizen, can I apply for H1B? Once again, H1B is a specialty occupation. If you qualify, yes. You can also come here on a TN visa, which is a simpler process. You just have to have a job offer from an employer, and you just get, I-94 entry, any port of entry, like the border crossing, or via airplane. You can come into the airport. So but if many people want to get an H1, because getting a green card, if you have a TN visa, because it's an immigrant intent, that might make it hard. um, there are many H1B non-profit companies. Send me an email. I'll try to send you a list of these companies that I do. um, uh, as much as I have. You can try, so H1B, that's a good question actually. H1B non-profit cap exempt employers can file H1Bs at any time. There is no limit. You can just come and work for them. The only downside is, you cannot transfer to for-profit H1B. You have to still go through the annual cap, typically called as a lottery. But then that's a possibility. But once you get into the H1B cap exempt H1, you get it. You can have a concurrent job with a for-profit H1B employer, as long as the initial H1B non-profit cap exempt H1B is active. So that's the good news. Uh, that's a type of, an extension to the law, or loophole. I'm not sure. Um, so that's a good question, just one. I've been talking about this. This is what people have been trying. So you can still try, but that is not going to increase your chances. Applying from multiple sources simultaneously, you might have multiple jobs. There's a job security. Five employers have offered you and initiated the registration. But with the new proposed rules, nothing is going to change. You are going to be treated as one. You're going to be unique, and you will be counted as one person. Although there are, until yesterday, it's a different story. If you had five different H1B jobs, now five go into the lottery, the chances were, probably higher. But then, in this case, going forward, that's no longer a possibility. Even if you have, so what I suggest, only try for that one good job. What is the point in going through five different 10 different jobs and trying to submit the paperwork, interview process, do your best shot with one job, get that employer to file your H1, and then people are decreasing the numbers, then there is a high chance everybody gets it. So, okay. Do you think any part of this proposal will be challenged or changed? No, I don't think so. Based on my experience, there is not much. This is only trying to make, this is not something where they're trying to, this is in the capacity of the US discretion and capacity of the USCIS. There's nothing to be challenged here. And it should not be challenged because it makes sense to make it more easier for the new H1B aspirants, and make it more merit based or systematic. I really don't think, but usually, US is a country of, laws, and anybody can sue anybody. And if you don't like somebody, you could just, bring them to court. That will happen. Some noise, some organizations will do the noise, but then I don't think that is going to have any effect, because this is something they really want to protect employers, aspirants. They want to protect the genuine, legit people, individuals or organizations, from any potential scams or fraud. This is a good thing. This should not be challenged, actually, in my opinion. Um, Michael, it's a long question. I'm not sure on what USAFIS and this drag till date. So if you can send me an email, I'll try to get help from an attorney. This needs more, I think, detailed analysis. It's been like almost 3 years now. I'm so sorry. Vinny, thank you. Thanks for that kind word. This discussion is really informative. I still have more slides here that I need to discuss. But then it's almost 45 minutes. I'm still looking at other um, questions here. Um, yeah, this is a good question. Haribol, do you also file for green card for an F1 student? Yes, of course. Anyone can have a green card initiated. Even if they are just visiting in this country. But then there are nuances attached to if you are an F1 visa holder. This is something we can definitely discuss one on one. Send me an email, um, Dan at higheritpeople.com, and I will be glad to help you uh, with your request. Um, Now, okay, we definitely covered a lot of items here. And before I'll still take some more comments if you would like to still ask me. We'll keep another 15 minutes here. But then before I jump off into comments once again, how we can help? Of course, I have a passion to share knowledge, but at the same time, I have to have bread and butter and also support over 500 employees worldwide. We work in countries like US, UK, Canada, Mexico, India, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka actively. And of course, I have to do some business here. That's what I'm here for. And it's a win-win. Let's make money together. How we can help? Based on my discussion, my phone number is right there on this slide. We can definitely, if you are a future H1B aspirant, if you have a great skill, we can definitely help. Do teamwork. It's not just with us. Help find a job where we will employ you. For example, in countries like India, um, we'll find a project, US based project. We'll employ you first, and you continue on the project. Use the same project, and tell the customers, the end clients, that at some point, as of next year, October, that's the fiscal year beginning for H1Bs, they will come to the US and work. This is something not new. We've been doing this for years. We don't, and by the way, please don't approach us for a fresh H1B, where there is no project. We have to work together. Unless there's a contract, we don't have any in-house projects. We don't really work that way. And there's no, the good news, once you start working with us, there's no expense to you. In fact, uh, H1B beneficiaries should not be charged for charge the H1B fee except certain items approved by the government. So that's how we work. And once there is a project, then we can walk through the. It's a little complex. There's more competition, but then it's based on our experience. This is doable, and this is not an astronomical task and rocket science that we're sending. Uh, you know, something to the moon like the Indian government did. But then it is possible. We have almost 150 recruiters as back office workforce. We are general services, government certified, federal, and minority certified, and several direct clients. We definitely want to grow our business, and we let's work together. You need your help, and it's a services organization. So we work together. That's where we provide a service and we make money together. I'll just jump back into the questions here. Um, if I have more, or um, okay, I think I just answered this question, but I will go back. Can F1 students file a green card in the OPT period? Yes, of course, they can. But then, there is an immigrant intent. there are a lot of, you need to have a better understanding of what happens if, when you file for an 140. But that's a possibility. Probably you might have to run into a consultation with an immigration attorney to understand more. It's case specific, so these are not really, there are general rules, but there are case specific rules. Your situation, maybe tomorrow you're going into another status, so you may not be affected, so things like that. But please, you do send me an email. um, I'll see what I can do now. Okay, there's another question here. If we are selected for a full-time job and not able to provide H1B sponsorship to OPT students, then can we file H1 from other employer or consulting firm? Of course, this is a standard process what happens in this country. So you're an OPT. Many OPTs, for many people who are listening from out of the country, OPT is an optional practical training given to students once they graduate. So uh, then there are extensions. There are multiple STEM OPTs, um, based on their background. But then I don't want to get into that topic now. It'll just drag forever. But then the OPTs, if you are working for, if you have a job, and then we get a lot of these from our clients, they have employed an OPT, and the season comes in, they transfer the contract to our company. They say, hey, you go ahead and initiate the H1, and you continue on the same. So this is where you negotiate with your employer wherever you're working. I would like to continue on this job, but then, since you don't offer sponsorship, I have this employer, a third party employer typically, who will work, send me as a contractor. So between a full-time employee, then companies like us, you can still negotiate the same benefits. Excuse me. And then um, get your H1B and get your green card filed as well, and continue the way you are. But this is a standard process, which is typically called consulting and contracting. And It's also known as corp to corp, company to company, corporation to corporation. So corporations together work, and then you become an employee of the consulting employer who is going to write a contract with the actual employer or the client. Okay, there is nothing like a bench concept here. Nothing was discussed on the public announcement, but then benching is something which is more relevant to U.S. Department of Labor. So on the LCA, when they file the LCA, employers are attesting that they're going to pay the salary. So people can be on leave. There might be different situations, which you need to talk to the employer. So this is not about the benching of people who have come in. But then, if you are out of job, you still have the 60-day grace period to find another job without getting into trouble with, I'm sure you know this, getting in trouble with your H1B visa. So um, thank you for your valuable. Thank you, Sahiti, Priya. Uh, Thanks a lot. And if I'll take 5 more minutes here. We're running out of time. I don't want to keep this dragging forever. But then, we recently set up a YouTube page as well, a YouTube channel, just to engage. It's immigration talk show. So if you want to subscribe, you can. But I'm going to come back with more analysis on the specialty occupation. Now that is going to be, now that they have clarified how the H1B registration is going to work. Absolutely, it's a good news, and you are now you have more chances. You're just many of them. Someone told me it's so pathetic. It's been trying last 6 years, never got picked in the lottery. So it's very pathetic. But then now the chances will definitely, more likely, they will increase, and there is going to be more enforcement. That's more important. When there is more enforcement, based on the data that they have published, 150 H1Bs are picked by an employer, and only about 1 to 19 applications are filed. So they're just letting 130 registrations which are picked in the lottery, let them go. So it is very tough for the immigration to put these numbers back. That's how they've been coming up with lottery number one, lottery number two, put these numbers back. This is a whole, nonsense for USCIS, and resources, workforce, and after pandemic, there's a staff shortage everywhere. So it's not really practical for them to go through this process. So this is going to be a great change, and I think every aspirant out there, either the students here or the H4s who are planning to go into H1B, or people coming from overseas like countries like India or China, should definitely be very happy about this. And the number of applications, since there's going to be more enforcement, um, and the number of applications are going to definitely decrease. Now, as I said before, uh, if you when you are dealing with an employer, make sure there is a project, there is valid paperwork, you are coming here on the project. Just like someone asked about the bench concept, you need to definitely ensure. I'm going to flash my numbers once again. um, you definitely want to ensure there is everything is proper and lawful, and any mistakes during the process, because there, I think, looks like the government is very serious on the gaming the system, what has been happening. So there will be more enforcement. So you got to be careful, and just follow the rules. When you follow the rules, if it's not going to happen next year, it's going to happen upcoming years. And world is a marketplace. You are in IT, and many of you, right? As I said, I'll be focusing only on IT. So I think that's about it for this session. But I'm coming back. Just keep following. You can follow us, on YouTube, Immigration Talk Show, and also on LinkedIn, Higher IT People or Immigration Talk Show, two different pages. Um, and also Facebook, you can still search for Immigration Talk Show, follow one of these pages, or channels, just subscribe if you have to. I'm going to come back with more data on uh, analysis on. They will come back with another publication or some kind of information, news or something. I'm still reading on the specialty occupation which we are talking about, the degree requirements. It's not clear from this 94-page document, but then I will definitely see um, what best information I can bring in to the session. So before we close, um, I'm just still looking at any missed questions here. Yeah, Michael Yarke, once again. My email is right on the screen, on right, you know, on the top bar header, dan@highrightypeople.com. And I think I missed something here. Somebody asked for a question here. I think I answered, Badra. Is there any impact on H1B non-profit? No, it's only getting better. So, you should be happy. Um, okay, this is something I don't know if we answered. Yes. Your educational background from a non-profit will not impact, so no changes. Everything is good. You are good to go. um, okay. Now, this is a good question here from Haribol again. How to show USCIS that field of study in finance is related to the IT job? This is a big question. This is the change that is going to occur. So I will definitely come back with another session only about the degree requirements and the specialty occupation, the qualification criteria, because this document is not clear on, although there have been a lot of repetition of what is going to happen. They were taking examples. or maybe I missed it. If I missed something, please comment on one of these videos wherever you're watching it, streaming live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, multiple platforms. So I will definitely look at your comments and see how best I can, even if you agree or if you even if you disagree, there has to be something, uh, plus or minus. So I'll be more happy if somebody is disagreeing to my analysis. I haven't done any analysis. I'm just trying to summarize what happened here. So once again, I'm going to flash my contacts here, and please send me an email if you need help, or you can send a WhatsApp. And having said that, thanks for joining today, and we will be connecting very soon. Please follow us when you have a chance. Have a Enjoy the rest of your day or your night wherever you are. Thank you.